Okay, this is a quick orientation for anybody who misses the lesson about using the materials to catch up. First of all, can you make sure that the worksheet that you could produce you hand in before your next lesson? I'm going to be setting the deadlines so that they are the deadline will come up the day before the lesson, so you get the to-do at least 2 days before, so you can complete your task with plenty of time. Too many people are leaving things to the last second, so I've moved the deadline so that it's going to be should be handed in right at the start of the lesson, or ready for the start of the lesson. Right, the starter for this lesson is to go and have a look at the Quizlet. The Quizlet is trying to get you to find various characters on the keyboard to see whether or not you can produce them, and things like the double quote. Remember, many keyboards will may not actually print the quote immediately. You might have to press space afterwards. So you've got all these signs to try and find which ones. Make a note of any that you get wrong. So I'll check my answers. Oh, I didn't give an answer. I got a correct answer down here. That looks a bit strange because that's got a slash on it. Oh, it doesn't. So you have to look at them fairly carefully. Which characters did you not find? Okay, there's some of these that it seems to think are perfectly valid when they're not. So I'm going to have to work at sorting that out later. That's your start point. Go and do that. In the worksheet, which I'll just switch to, once you've done that, just put a note in here, which letters did you have trouble finding. We might have to do a little bit more work finding stuff on the keyboard. Then, like the last worksheet, we have a worksheet which does the grades. So you can get up to a C grade just by doing the exercises, the worksheet parts. But you do have to make a little bit of playing with the commands, independent and a study of those commands, change the code a little bit, and adding notes about what you've discovered. That will get you to the C. If all you do is type in the commands I've given you and nothing else, you're down at a grade 3. It's a DE boundary. You really don't want to be down there. Okay, so the grades, let's go through quickly. Familiarise yourself with the different operations. So we've got add, subtract, multiply, divide, you should remember. And then we've got these other ones down here which are a little odd. Can you remember what they do? Show all your different trials in the middle here, so you can cut and paste either the text out of Python anywhere, or take a little screenshot and put it in. Screenshots will be hard here because they'll come up quite small. Any notes and observations, that's where I'm really looking for the inspiration in your work. Then it goes into a little bit about creating variables. Remember, variables are a named piece of memory that holds some information. So this variable var a will hold the result of 3 times 4, which is 12, is then stored in the piece of memory named var a. So if I want to use it again, I can talk about var a. There's a little command down here that's new to you, and it's this type command. And what type allows is it allows you to find out what type of value you've got. I'm not expecting you to use it a lot, but sometimes it is useful to use that command to see what sort of variable have you got at this time. You can recognize them often just by displaying the value though. There's the little extra credit question. We've done that before. This gives a peculiar output. Why? What's happening? That's sort of showing that you've got sort of level 6 or level 7. And then we've got some stuff on if statements. So you've got some commands here. Notice the ... If you've typed your if statement correctly, including the colon at the end, you'll get a ... saying, yes, I know the command continues. Because if can also have elif sections and else sections, to finish the command you've got to enter an empty line. So you've got to press return after that and it will run through. So you've got to run these commands a few times. In a moment I'll show you just a little bit about running commands and being able to rerun them again when you're using the command line. So you've got a few here. Again, play with the numbers, try and show that you can get both in both of the outputs working. This carries over. If you put in notes in, it will continue. So when you're watching these, I can't format this because as you put more stuff in, these boxes will move around a bit. So I can't format it so this will always appear on the top of the page because you're going to change the document. So with each of these, try and work out what's happening. This section, try and replace the question marks so that when someone guesses a number, you're checking whether or not it's 21, 22 or 20. The target is number 21. So what test do we put in here? And notice test for equals is 2 equal signs. If it drops out to the bottom here, what sort of values could come here? And it depends what sort of commands you've put in. This one, we've got some errors. So remembering what we said about if, there is a note earlier on. How do we make this code work? And show that you've made the code work, please. Don't just, I'll make the alterations. Check it, make sure it works, show it works. Same thing with this one. Check and make sure you know it works. The examples before should highlight to you what the problems may be. And then finally, we've got programs. Remember to put comments in your programs and make sure you use good variable names. And we were talking about those last year. This is where you can get the good grades. And what we've got here is a fairly simple program to test for positive, negative and 0. That on its own isn't worth anything because I've effectively given you a program for that already. And also test whether or not it's an integer, if it's odd or even, or if you know it's a decimal, say it's a decimal. Okay. Question 2 is calculating the area of a rectangle, and there is a flow diagram on the right hand side that shows you that how you can do it. If you want to find out about flow diagrams, you can click on the video link and it will talk you through the command, what's being said in a flow diagram. The one I talk through is the area of a triangle. Then you've got some testing questions here, making sure that if someone enters 3 sides of a triangle, is that a valid triangle? And then you've got 2 more advanced ones. Now remember, all I'm looking for is one program, but you might use question 3, save it, and then you might want to try question 4 or 5 and use this as a test to make sure that the program worked correctly. Okay. This one's talking about Pythagoras theorem. If you can convert this calculation into some Python code, you can actually see whether or not the longest side of a triangle, if it is equal to this h value, where these are the 2 short sides of the triangle. If the longest side is equal to h, that means the triangle must be right angled. Okay, and this is one which uses Heron's formula. Notice with both of these, you really do need to think and play with that calculation of 16 star 0.5. If you play with that a few times, you should work out what this is doing. So that's a run through the sheet. Make sure you've got your code and notes in, and then make sure, please hand in every piece of work before next week. Can I highlight to you that this is a review, so these sections shouldn't take you too long. I said I'd give you a quick rundown with Python Anywhere, a reminder of how you can put commands in. So I'm just going to put a variable a is equal to 3, and I'm going to do a quick test on it. If a is less than 4, remember the colon on the end to say end of the if statement, and it now knows that I'm doing a block. Blocks of code, remember to put the spaces in, either 3 spaces or press tab, and you can put in your following command. So I've got a print smaller than 4. Okay, press enter, and then I can type in my next part, the else part, oh sorry, elif a is greater than 4, print bigger than 4, and the last command, else, with a colon on the end, remember, print 4. Now, for it to know I've finished typing in the command, I enter an empty line, and it said my first value was smaller than 4. To replay those commands, I can press upwards and edit the line. So let's make this 5 now. Then I can go back up to my if statement, if less than 4, pressing up again to pull in my smaller than command, pull up my elif command, so I don't have to retype, and go up to bigger than 4, else, I need the else, and print 4, press enter, that's bigger than 4, or I could do a equals 4, and if I remember right, I can copy and paste and edit this. So Control C, Control V, no you can't. So you can't copy and paste in this version. One problem with Python anywhere, if you're using Python idle, the whole command can be edited when you go back up. Okay, that's the end of the rundown.